Nights were the hardest. I would lie in bed, the silence amplifying the ache within me. My skin felt too tight, yearning for a touch that wasn't my own. It wasn't just loneliness, it was a deep, visceral hunger that settled low in my belly, keeping me awake. I'd trace my own curves, trying to recall the sensation of being held, of skin against skin. I've never been one to shy away from my desires. Some people let that part of themselves fade, pretend it doesn't exist. Not me. I still craved the slow burn of anticipation, the way a gaze could linger and make my breath catch, my skin prickle with awareness. Then I saw him. Liam. He was outside, working on his motorcycle, shirtless. The way the muscles in his back flexed as he tightened a bolt sent a wave of heat crashing through me. He was strong, focused, utterly captivating. I stood at my window, watching him, biting my lip as a deep ache settled within me. It had been too long, and Liam, he was everything I'd been craving. I wasn't reckless, though. I knew how to build the tension, how to let it simmer until it became almost unbearable. It started subtly. A glance held a fraction of a second too long. A casual stretch when I knew he was looking. My dress riding just a little higher as I bent to pick something up. An innocent laugh that lingered as my fingers brushed his arm, just barely. Liam noticed. I saw it in the quick flickers of his eyes when he thought I wasn't looking, the slight hitch in his breath when I leaned in a little too close, the almost imperceptible clench of his jaw when I spoke in low, suggestive tones. Chloe, sweet, oblivious Chloe, was none the wiser. She greeted me with bright smiles, completely unaware of the fire that was slowly igniting beneath the surface. Unaware that every time her father looked at me, it wasn't just a casual glance, it was charged heavy with unspoken desire. I wasn't looking for love. I wasn't looking for commitment. I just wanted to feel that spark again, the pull, the anticipation, the thrill of knowing I could make a man lose himself completely. And Liam, he was already teetering on the edge. The opportunity presented itself when Chloe went away for the weekend. Liam was alone, and I was ready. I timed it perfectly. An evening stroll, a casual accidental bump into him on the sidewalk. He caught me by the waist, his grip firm and warm, sending a jolt of electricity through me. "You okay, Anya?" he asked, a hint of concern in his voice. I exhaled slowly, deliberately, just enough to make my chest rise in a way that would catch his attention, let him notice. "Yeah," I murmured, placing a hand on his arm, feeling the solid muscle beneath my fingertips. "Just got a little dizzy." His gaze flickered down to my lips. I saw it, felt it. "Maybe you should sit down," he suggested, his voice a little rougher now. I bit back a smirk. "Perfect. My place is just down the street," I offered smoothly, tilting my head slightly, letting my hair fall just so. "Come inside with me." He hesitated for a heartbeat, maybe two. I could see the internal struggle in his eyes, the tension in his stance. But he followed. Of course, he did. Inside, the air felt thick, charged. I poured him a drink, deliberately brushing against him as I set the glass down. Every movement was calculated, just close enough, just teasing enough to blur the lines between a simple gesture and an invitation. I leaned against the counter, swirling my wine, letting my dress ride up just a fraction as I crossed my legs. His eyes dipped lower, and when they met mine again, there was no more pretense. "What are we doing, Anya?" he asked, his voice tight, conflicted. I smirked, setting my glass down. "Whatever we want." The space between us vanished in an instant. His lips crashed against mine, his hands gripping my waist, pulling me flush against him. I moaned into his mouth, threading my fingers through his hair, tugging just enough to make him groan. His hands roamed over my hips, my back, sliding beneath my dress with an urgency that sent heat straight to my core. I pushed him gently onto the couch, straddling him in one smooth motion. He let out a sharp breath as I rolled my hips against him, teasing, torturing. His fingers dug into my thighs, his eyes dark with hunger. "This is crazy," he rasped against my neck, his lips trailing down, sending shivers through me. "Then stop," I challenged, my voice husky. He didn't. He couldn't. And as I rocked against him, as his hands explored every inch of me, as we lost ourselves completely in that moment, I knew this was exactly what I had been craving. And now that I had it, I wasn't about to let go. Once wasn't enough. Not even close. That first night ignited something inside me, something I hadn't felt in years. The thrill, the fire, the way my body responded as if it had been starved. And Liam, he was just as hooked. The next time, I didn't even bother with an excuse. I sent a single text, "Now." Minutes later, he was at my door. No hesitation, no guilt. The second the door clicked shut, his hands were on me, hot, urgent, possessive. I barely had time to gasp before he lifted me, pressing me against the wall, his body slotting perfectly against mine. "This is wrong," he whispered, but his mouth was already at my neck, his hands sliding beneath my dress. I smirked, tilting my head back. "Then why does it feel so good?" He groaned, gripping my thighs, pulling me tighter against him. And I laughed breathlessly. I loved this. The tension, the rush, the way he couldn't keep his hands off me. We never made it far sometimes. Against the kitchen counter, on the couch, in the hallway, clothes barely pushed aside in our desperation. Every moment was fevered, frantic, pure need. Liam was strong, eager, relentless. He touched me like he was making up for lost time, like every second without me had been a slow torture. And I soaked it in. The way he gripped me like he couldn't get enough, the way his lips dragged over my skin, the way he lost himself completely in me. I felt worshipped, devoured. And when it was over, when I lay beneath him, spent and breathless, my body humming with a deep satisfaction, I didn't feel guilty. I felt alive. I stretched, my fingers tracing lazy patterns over his chest, a slow, satisfied smile curving my lips. "Again," I murmured, rolling onto him, loving the way his breath hitched, the way his hands instantly found my waist. Because I wasn't done with him. Not even close. The affair was everything I craved. Reckless, thrilling, indulgent. I had Liam completely under my spell, his body and mind drawn into the heat we created. He wasn't just responding to my touch, he was addicted to it. But what I didn't see coming was Chloe. The knock on my door was sharp, unexpected. My pulse jumped as I straightened my dress, smoothing out invisible creases. When I opened it, Chloe stood there. Her face wasn't twisted in rage, her voice wasn't shaking with betrayal. No, she looked composed. Too composed. "Can we talk?" she asked, stepping past me before I could answer. I shut the door, my heartbeat hammering in my chest. "Chloe, The words hung in the air between us, heavy and undeniable. I stayed silent, waiting for the slap, the accusations, the confrontation I had expected. But Chloe just sat down, crossing one leg over the other, her eyes steady on me. "You and Dad," she said, her voice low, almost calculating. "How long?" I swallowed. Lying was pointless. "A little while." She nodded slowly, as if she had already pieced it all together. A beat of silence stretched, the air charged with something I couldn't quite place. And then she surprised me. "I don't want to lose him," she admitted, her gaze unwavering. "But I also don't want to pretend I don't see what's happening." I leaned forward, intrigued. "Then what do you want, Chloe?" Chloe's lips curled slightly, and for the first time, I saw something in her eyes that I hadn't noticed before. A glint of curiosity, of daring. "I want in." My breath caught. I had expected anger, tears, a messy ending. Not this. You want? Chloe tilted her head, watching me carefully. Dad's drawn to you, Anya. I get it. I've seen how he looks at you, how he loses himself. But what if we don't have to choose? Her words wrapped around me, warm, intoxicating. My pulse quickened. Was this really happening? She smirked, as if reading my thoughts. So, Anya, are you willing to share? The night air was thick, charged with something electric as the three of us sat in my dimly lit living room. Chloe was surprisingly relaxed, leaning back against the couch, her fingers tracing slow patterns on her own knee. Liam sat between us, his eyes shifting, waiting, unsure but undeniably intrigued. I reached for my wine glass, taking a slow sip. Tell me, Chloe, I murmured, letting my voice drop into something softer, something smoother. What is it exactly that you want? She turned to me, her lips parting slightly. I want to understand, she admitted, her gaze locked onto mine. I want to feel what he feels when he's with you. Her fingers ghosted along the arm of the couch, her gaze still fixed on mine. It was an invitation, a challenge, and I had no intention of denying her. I leaned closer, slow, deliberate. Liam's breath hitched between us. Then let me show you. I reached out, my fingertips grazing Chloe's cheek, testing. Her lips parted just slightly, a sharp inhale betraying the nerves that trembled beneath her composure. Liam was frozen, watching. And then Chloe moved. She turned into my touch, pressing closer, letting her lips brush against mine. Not hesitant, not shy, but exploring, testing the waters of something entirely new. Liam exhaled sharply, his body shifting as he watched. I deepened the kiss just enough to tease, to let her feel the slow burn of surrender. And she did, melting into it, her fingers tightening on my arm. Liam couldn't resist any longer. His hands found my waist, pulling me closer, his breath hot against my skin. I smiled against Chloe's lips before breaking away just enough to glance at him, enjoying the view. Liam, I murmured. He groaned, his fingers tightening around me as he kissed me with the same hunger I had come to know so well. But this time, Chloe was there, her presence adding to the thrill, the heat. Fingers tangled, bodies pressed close, every touch igniting something new, something unspoken. Chloe's hand skimmed over Liam's shoulders, her curiosity transforming into something bolder. I turned to her, watching the way she looked at me, the way her breath hitched when I ran my fingers down her arm. I think you like this more than you expected, I smirked. She didn't deny it. We moved together, an unspoken rhythm taking over, blending into something seamless, a shared desire, a connection that none of us had expected but all of us craved. Liam's hands roamed, guiding, taking, as Chloe and I explored, learning each other's edges, each other's reactions. There were no doubts now, no hesitations, just pleasure, just three bodies tangled in a perfect storm, giving into something deeper, something raw and untamed. And the best part? It was just the beginning. Morning light poured in, painting lazy shadows over our tangled limbs. The sheets smelled like warmth, like comfort, like us. Liam stirred beside me, his hand sliding over my hip, his touch familiar, possessive. Across from me, Chloe stretched, her fingers grazing mine as she let out a soft hum of satisfaction. I smiled. No guilt, no regrets. Just something real, something right. Chloe turned her head toward me, a playful smirk tugging at her lips. So, she murmured, her voice still thick with sleep, I think I see why Dad got so hooked. Liam chuckled, pressing a kiss to my shoulder before reaching for Chloe, pulling her into his chest. Unexpected, she added, running a lazy finger down his arm, but perfect. And it was. We had rewritten the rules, created something that belonged only to us. Not a secret, not a betrayal, just pleasure, just connection, just ours. As I lay there, feeling the heat of their bodies beside me, the satisfaction thrumming through my veins, I knew one thing for sure. This was exactly where I was meant to be. That's it. No regrets, no second guessing. Just 3 people who found exactly what they were looking for. Are you with me? Type 1 in the comments to let me know you're still watching. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think? Was this the perfect unexpected turn, or do you think it was bound to fall apart? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Have you ever experienced a moment that completely defied your expectations? Could you share your thoughts in the comments? Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps this channel grow, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Still with me? Drop a yes in the comments to let me know you're tuned in. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.